Well, I'm joined now by Lord Bell, once dubbed the third Saatchi after helping the Saatchi brothers set up their eponymous PR agency. Lord Bell, who do you think's lost more out of this, Nigella Lawson or Charles Saatchi, in terms of reputation?
Well, I think it rather depends on how you evaluate their reputation before this all happened. Nothing is going to take away from Charles Saatchi having created the most successful advertising agency the industry's ever seen, or that the successor agency, M&C Saatchi, is now the #1 agency in the UK.
Well, what about the fact that people, after they saw Nigella Lawson in court, said she was dignified, smart, witty? You know, the court of public opinion thinks she's won. Would that bother Charles Saatchi, do you think?
Well, you say the court of public opinion thinks this. You actually don't know. You're just speculating.
Well, there's been a lot of supportive
there's no factual evidence for that. But the reality is, whether you're right or wrong, if you're asking about reputation, Charles Saatchi's reputation as one of the most successful advertising men ever will remain intact. His success as an art collector will remain intact. As far as Nigella is concerned, I'm not sure Nigella will go on to have a very successful career cooking food, selling cooking books, and doing things in America, and it'll all be fine.
What about the photos, though, of Charles Saatchi with his hands at Nigella Lawson's throat? That's very hard to get past that, isn't it?
Well, as it happens, it's not. I've known Charles Saatchi for a very long time, close friend for 16 years. And I know perfectly well he wasn't trying to strangle her or hurt her, as did everybody else, and as Nigella could easily have said but didn't. But the reality is that people have been shown things that have slightly surprised them or shocked them. But you need to understand something. Charles Saatchi doesn't care what people think of him, never has done, and that's one of the reasons why he's been so successful. If he had cared about what people thought about him, there are many things that he wouldn't have done. You take risks not on the basis of whether it'll please people or not, but whether you think that the reward from the risk is worthwhile. I think
Nigella Lawson in court said that he was a controlling, a brilliant but brutal man who tried to destroy her. Does that sound like the Charles Saatchi you know?
There are elements of it that sound like him, but it leaves out an enormous other part of his character. He's incredibly charming, extremely kind, very generous, and very, very brilliant man, great creative genius. And he has a passion for art, which I don't actually understand it myself. In fact, he put a sign on my door once that called me Phil E. Stein because I didn't like the paintings he put on my wall. But the reality is that he is a great benefactor to the modern art world. He's got a brilliant gallery that people love going to. I don't think that this court case will stop people going there. I don't think it will stop people, make clients leave M&C Saatchi or Saatchi and Saatchi, even though it's now owned not by them but by French people.
Okay.
And I don't think any of that will be affected.
Okay, if it wasn't brutality that was on display in those photos, then what was going on there in your view?
It's no good asking me what he was doing. You'd have to ask him or ask Nigella. I'm not him and I'm not her and I wasn't there. Why don't you ask the paparazzi who took the picture why they took the picture? Because you don't know who it is.
Final question, are you Team Cupcake or Team Saatchi still? I'm assuming the latter.
I'm neither, not on anybody's team. He's a fine man who was my mentor in the industry. I owe him a great deal and I certainly don't wish to join in a chorus of abuse against him. And I equally don't want to join in a chorus of abuse against Nigella. They will both get past this. It'll go on a lot longer. The prurient newspapers will write more and more rubbish. But in the end, what will happen is he'll carry on being successful and she'll carry on being successful.
OK, Lord Bell, thank you very much for joining me.